All right, everybody. Welcome back to the PRPL Podcast. We're back here today reviewing and recapping The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2. We've got everyone back here in the booth, just in a different form and fashion. Griffin is joining us here remotely today. Hello, Griffin. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on? Appreciate you having me on, man.
Yes, sir. Welcome back. Welcome back. Big one here today. And then who is back in here again? We did bring him back. The decision was made. We're going to give him another shot. Mike Fletcher, Uncle Mike, he is here to my left, back in the booth, having a good old day.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, all right, guys. Wow, right? Wow.
Ugh.
This is a big one. This is, following that first episode, my excitement level, I would say, I was very excited, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of it changed after this one, in terms of the investment level and just the general,
Just like the
Wow.
amount that you want to. Are you talking about like for episodes to come?
yeah, I mean, I am a lot more invested, I think, in this season. After that first episode, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily skeptical, but I don't know if I was at a point not really knowing the story to where, I was still on the edge about what this one might be. Like if it was going to really grab us like the first season did. Mm-hmm. And wow, I was not expecting that, having not played the second game for sure. It was a jaw-dropping moment. The big news, Joel being dead. The title of this episode,
being brutally murdered.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll just like jumping ahead a little bit. Was that kind of a moment for both of you guys where you're watching and you really can't believe it's happening? And in my head the whole time I was like, there is no way this happens. It's like there's no chance. And the more you're watching, you're like, I really think they just killed him. I really think they did. I couldn't believe it hardly.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sitting here shaking my head the whole time I watched it. I'm going, this isn't friggin' real. This is not happening. This is the second episode. How do you kill off Joel?
And the main guy on the poster is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
He's gone. The thing is, and this is, Pedro Pascal, they're not going to have him only be in this much of the season. We're going to see him still. It's going to be through flashbacks is kind of
no doubt
what I'm seeing. So he's still going to be involved, but obviously in this present timeline, he is dead.
He
is gone.
Oh my God.
He's good.
You kept waiting for a hand to raise there was, it was impossible.
It was just devastating. Like exactly what you said, Dad. It's like you're watching and you're like, God, like do it, and then like Ellie's going, get up, and you're like, come on, man. And
we'll get into the whole scene.
Yeah,
going through that.
Break it down, Oz.
But this episode is titled "Through the Valley." Another song reference here. The song that plays at the very end, titled "Through the Valley of the Shadow of Death." The artist who is singing this song is actually who voiced Ellie in the video game.
Oh wow.
That's cool.
And also plays her mother in the show. That first flashback in the first season, there's a flashback where she has the baby. That was the voice actress of Ellie in the video games.
That's cool.
So that plays at the end there. It's kind of interesting that, they do that. And those things are always fun. But this whole episode, you feel a lot of that cycle of revenge and violence. We knew something was coming to Joel following episode 1. There was he had some skeletons in the closet that were following him, and now we have this kind of mirror parallel of Abby and Ellie, and I think they were very purposeful in saying that Abby was dead or 19 when Joel killed her father.
I didn't even think about that in the moment.
Ellie is 19 at this present time. So both of them see their fathers brutally murdered, and there's this cycle of revenge theme of, violence that comes with it. We see that throughout the just the entire show as a whole with different characters that come and go. Some of the Firefly moments, I think from the first season, there was some of that.
Well, and again, like we said last episode, it really flips maybe expectations on their head in the way of like, you know, to some people by whatever narrative, you know, Abby's the hero. And you could imagine being on Abby's side and being so excited by this moment of like, you know, getting, you know, vengeance, just getting him back. But yeah, it's all just the perspective you have going in and what you're shown. It's kind of amazing, you know, how that context just affects everything.
And one thing, and then there's actually a bit of controversy in terms of like narratives and what people are thinking about this decision. There's a difference here with the video game and the show in that in the video game, you don't figure out that Abby, the reason she's after Joel is because he killed her father. Her father was the doctor. You don't find out that fact until the very end. So it's more of like that last push. But I think the show writers were kind of, I think the purpose in letting us know this element at the beginning of it is that they want you to sympathize with her a bit more and see those parallels between Ellie and Abby in that, you know, both of them have a right to their vengeance in a some kind of backwards moral world where, like, you know, it's just kind of how it goes. Obviously, killing is never the right thing, but you know, you can see her. You can validate her reasoning, right? You know, for wanting to kill Joel a lot easier because of, you know, Joel did bad things. You know.
Yeah.
But guys, come on, that was. Oh, that was brutal. I mean,
over the top.
You guys know I've watched some crazy shows in my time, and that was bad. I had to look away, and I've seen shows where they're flogging people. That was brutal.
No.
Come on now, guys. That was brutal.
The thing that got me was
too
like,
sorry for.
No, I mean they were really working it up to, you know, a lot of just close-ups on the crew's face. The one girl's crying in the corner. It's just, I mean, it was pretty dismal, you know.
Yeah, let's hop into the recap here. The way we start
recap.
Well, we got to stay linear because we're getting to that scene. This is going to be good.
Hey, Dad, why don't you run through the recap? You want to give it to my dad? He has the floor for this one.
No, I'll also do a
he might piss down his leg.
All right. Guys, I'm just sitting here. I'm itching. I can't wait to get into this. So.
All right. So the first scene we see here is Abby, that kind of dream sequence where she has another version of herself telling her to not go in. So there's two different Abbys in this, one from, I guess, the present day and one from the past, telling her past self, you don't want to see that. Basically just, you know, furthering along her backstory and, you know, why she's on this revenge quest, you know, her father and seeing his brain splattered on the floor. I think that was kind of cool to, I guess, put you in her shoes a bit more and like really see the horror that she, you know, put her on this path, you know, another way to just kind of sympathize with her.
For sure.
And this is where we also see them then wake up at the lodge. We have their group there. I believe it's Manny, Nora. Nora is the shaved head girl. Mel is the one who you can tell might not love Abby all too much. And then Owen, who is, I guess, Abby's maybe significant other. He has the most pull with her.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Okay.
And they're seeing Jackson for the first time, and they're like, "Holy fuck! This is a full city, right? It's a full city. They have power lines. Not only do they have power lines, they have military guarding schedules and regiments. Like this is not going to be easy, and if at all possible,
it's not possible. Yeah,
and it's well organized.
Yeah,
organized.
And you feel good, kind of in that moment, as the people that are like, "Oh, good, they can't just." Really get Joel here.
Oh yeah. Well, they totally disarm the audience. You know, that's what happened to me, because like I'm listening and I'm hearing them say, "Oh yeah, like hey, my plan is to tell her this is a horrible idea. It's not going to work." And you're like, "Okay, cool. Like I'm right there with you."
There's this like ducks in a row sequence where each one of them like wakes up and each one of them takes their turn saying, oh, fuck. Like, because they're seeing Jackson in the daylight for the first time. So they're having that realization. And I love the part where Abby, goes out. She's still fully headstrong in this. She's
laser focused.
Yeah, she goes out to the post, and I love the point where Owen's basically like, yeah, I have a plan.
The plan is to tell her to go back home.
Yeah, because we're not making it out of this one. Yeah, so I thought that was real funny, and I think Owen won me some points here. I'm liking his character because they're.
Well, and I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead. What were you going to get into, Dad?
Griff, I was going to say, and I kind of liked him too because there was a chance, and I'm skipping ahead, guys, but I can't resist.
No, you're good.
Is when Ellie's down on the ground, and I think his name was Manny, was wanting to kick her in the teeth, and Owen jumps in and grabs him. He's like, no, that's we're not doing that.
They're real purposeful with the reactions that Abby's group is having. They're showing you the guys who are on board. They're showing you the guys who are, maybe like just kind of going along with Abby.
Yeah, kind of like almost forced into the position.
Exactly.
It feels very. I mean, Abby is literally threatening them with, "Hey, tourniquet him," or that might be the wrong point. Or whatever it was, get Dina, subdue her, or I'm literally going to hit her in the head.
Smash her.
Yeah, I'm going to
smash her face in. Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Next scene, we kind of jump into this Jesse and Ellie sequence. Ellie being woken up. This is the day after the New Year's Eve party, so some big happenings happened that night before. I thought this was a really good sequence. I think it's a really consequential sequence as well as we kind of go through it. This whole little scene, I thought it was really well done. Nothing huge really happens at that point, but there's a lot of kind of building here. I think it's really fun. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say something I noticed in this scene that I didn't on first watch was actually the way when Jesse's asking Ellie about Joel in their relationship, she says, "We made up." Yeah. Did you notice she said that, guys? And I think that was referring to that stare, that look that she and Joel shared at the end of the first episode. I think that's what she meant. And like I said, I asked last week, I was like, what did that really mean? And I don't know. I think it was some sort of acknowledgement they had. And I really think that's what she meant. She said, "We made up."
Yeah.
I think that's what she meant.
This was a really big scene. So we start with kind of Jesse busting Ellie's balls, about the night before, saying, "I heard you had quite the night when I left." And she immediately goes to the Dina and her kiss. And that's not what he's talking about initially. He's talking about Joel and her in the fight with Seth there. I thought Jesse has swag. You like Jesse.
Oh, yeah,
everyone
absolutely.
Likes Jesse at this point, I think we didn't give him enough love in last episode maybe, but he's been a really solid and strong character. I like that kind of funny when he sticks his face back in and says, "Kind of fucked up you did that though."
Right.
I thought that was great. Yeah. But then they get talking as they're kind of riding along for this patrol, talking about the frozen corpses. You can feel this kind of alertness in the city because they're on alert, right? They see these frozen corpses. He says there could be thousands on there, and Ellie says, "Get the fuck out." Yeah. That kind of foreshadowing, horror movie tropes kind of things, like something you don't do, like you jinxed it,
Yeah. Well, and of course he acknowledged that too. I forget what he said. He said certainty or like some certain masquerading is something else. And I was like, that's funny.
Exactly. So then she says she just wants to go on the patrol with Joel. And this is one of those big consequences kind of, I think there's a few things in here throughout this episode that like everything had to happen a certain way and by chance for it to ultimately end up where it did, how it did, and everything, which is, I think it's really well done. Like it's, because you think back to these moments and it's like, oh, he went with Dina instead.
Well, and it's going to elevate Ellie's guilt so much. Like, not to just say that, but like it's a device it's a way, it's a conduit by which, we're going to see that guilt that she has. And, the way she acted, I think that the way that they presented her when Seth was apologizing, actually, and she acted like such a little kid and just stormed off. And, I thought it was really pretty childish the way she responded. And I think that's probably going to be the last instance we see of her behaving that way to that degree for this season. I think that was like the peak of, hey, you need to grow up. And I think this is going to be the motion that gets her into that new space.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt, guys. I mean, Griffin, you nailed it. You won't see her as a child anymore. You're going to see her as an adult, and she's definitely going to take off from here.
Yeah.
And I'm interested, Dad. What do you think? What's your kind of take on maybe the way Ellie was acting in those moments? Because she's like, I want to go with Joel. I thought it was kind of interesting seeing her act that way. And, obviously when Jesse goes, oh, he already went with Dina, like you could see the disappointment in her. And like, what's your kind of take on this?
I think that's more of, hey, it's going to be more of an appreciation for what Joel did with shoving Seth down. I think at the time she was a little embarrassed by it because she thought she could handle it, but let's call him Dad. Dad took care of business and Dad cleaned house, and she respected that. Hey, Joel still loved. Joel loves me, and he's always going to be a protector to me.
Yeah, I think, did she have the guitar back when we first see her?
The guitar was in her room.
Yeah,
the guitar was in her room. So
they probably did have some kind of conversation in between now and then, because he had that guitar and she got it back. I think.
Good thought, Austin. I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah, I think she did, and I think there was this wholesome moment. Excuse me, in this scene where she admits to her relationship with Joel and how it's complicated, but he is what he is and she is what she is to him, and nothing's ever going to change that. So I think that was her setting it straight. It's like, I don't give a fuck what you guys think. You can talk about us having beef, but end of the day, it's like, really, I love this guy. He loves me. Yep. That's what it is.
We're definitely connected.
And that was putting a clean cut, I would say. Like, I think that was cleaning the slate prior to what was to come.
Yes,
really,
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
We didn't realize it when we were first watching. I think when I was first watching, I was like, okay, cool. When we see them come back, we're going to get a little bit of the first season back. We're going to get a little bit of that taste. I didn't realize it was more just, let's establish that they're on good terms before he's done.
Griff, good point. The writers are pulling you in that, hey, everything is going to be good. Things are going to start calming down. Hey, Abby and the guy, what was it? I said Owen. Owen is trying to talk him into, hey, let's get Abby. Let's get back home, guys. This thing's getting out of hand.
They're setting up that twist,
right? And
really well.
So I'm sitting back and I'm watching, going, oh, this is going all right. This is going to be okay. And then, as we all know, and Austin's going to get to it, but it's all hell's getting ready to break loose.
And the last thing I'll say, again, we're excited, so apologies, we're jumping ahead a little bit. But Austin, you were the first person to watch this episode. I believe you tuned in about at 9 p.m. on Sunday. You were right there for it. Just inside baseball, you did text us and say, oh, shit. There's a twist.
And Griff, I got to be honest, I watched it too.
Okay.
I was back in my room just sulking. My wife was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, Angela, this is episode 2, and it's gone to hell in a handbasket.
That's one of the.
I was wiped out.
That's one of the difficult things about this show is that this is the last thing you're seeing on a Sunday night when we don't need any more reason to be depressed.
Yeah.
And you're just getting smacked in the face.
Well, I was really, it took me way down too. I had to go through those things of damn, Griff, it is just a show, man. But I was really pretty upset by it all. I was like, damn. it worked me up. But with you not expecting, I was expecting this twist. You were not, Austin. Maybe you weren't either, Dad. Like, what was that? Was it just like a shock to the system?
I mean, I'm looking at him and it's like, did she stab the golf club to the side of him?
Yeah.
And is it not in his neck? Is it just supposed to look like she stabbed it right next to him and she's just going to leave?
Yeah.
You just kept waiting for that moment where he flinches, you see an eyelash twitch. Yeah. And I just had this look like, oh shit, he's not gonna blink.
Yeah, and then you see him going back on the horses and he's in a fucking body bag and you're like, oh my God, no. Yeah. No.
GG's. Yeah. But bringing us back to the recap portion that Griffin is so eager to remove us from. But kind of continuing in the sequence, I'm looping this in as the same scene. We see Tommy at that town meeting, and this is where I might start backtracking my statement from last episode where I was saying this town was unprepared in any kind of form or fashion.
Allow me to backtrack.
Yeah, a half-assed town meeting. Maybe they did just want to go get high and get fucked up on a New Year's Eve. Maybe that's what it was. But they are very obviously very prepared. Here, Tommy's with the town. People know where to go. They're on high alert. You feel this. There's an energy in a building. We see that Seth apology, which I think it is purposeful that they're showing Ellie as a child here that I think her world's about to be rocked in a different kind of way. And then the foreshadowing of Jesse and Ellie going out on horseback. She asks him, are we worrying about that being the storm that she sees in the mountain? And Jesse, maybe a bit boneheaded here, and you can't blame him always. He's not a weatherman. Says, it'll stay up in the mountains, which, another kind of horror movie or just movie trope here that obviously this thing's going to become a problem.
Absolutely.
Right? Fun fact about this episode was shot in a legitimate blizzard, like the filming. A lot of it, it was done
guys,
during the blizzard.
look at their faces. Abby looked like she was freezing. I was cold watching it. Come on now, Tommy without a hat on. Come on, Tommy, what are you doing?
Yeah, and us. Do you might have said this last time? Where is it filmed? Actually, in Jackson Hole? Do you know?
No, I think it's in Alberta, Canada.
It's Alberta. Canada. Oh, okay.
I think he's right. Canada.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Damn, you know that was cold then.
Was. Oh, yeah. Next scene, we kind of cut to Abby at the outpost overlooking, and that's when you're immediately like, God, it looks cold. And then you also see how far she was away from the lodge, and I was immediately like, why is she so far away? Like,
I thought this.
God, you're gonna freeze yourself to death. It's like you were.
Well, I think it just shows. I think it's just showing to what ends she is committed to making this happen. Like she is on a mission from God. I think it's all just setting that up.
Yeah. And then this kind of next point of it, we flash to Tommy back in town. And this is where, like, throughout this episode, and I think a big part of it is and why it's so good is it's very well paced. There's a ton of momentum and build up, and you just feel that drum beat getting louder and louder throughout it. So Tommy, we cut back to Tommy. He's in that control room. He's seeing that the storm's kind of getting a bit nasty. So they're calling all the patrols back, and we hear, I guess the radio woman reaching out to people, Amy telling them like, shut it down, come back, or take cover basically, because you're getting far away here.
Yeah.
And this is where we get that good scene of Ellie and Jesse and Eugene, the ghost of Eugene, showing up again here.
Yeah.
At the 7-Eleven full of weed. There were some great quotes in that. Ellie asking if she's hallucinating here. And he says, that depends. Do you see a 7-Eleven full of weed? And she says, yes. And he says, then no. I thought that was really good.
That was fun.
So there's a really purposeful moment during this sequence in dialogue here that we see as well, where they're talking about the Eugene rap and Joel having to kill him out. And Jesse says that it's a shame, this guy goes through a war and then has to go out like that. And says, couldn't be saved. Nothing could be done. And you see Ellie's face in this moment.
Very good point, Austin.
Yeah.
Very good.
You see
I saw it the second time. The first time I didn't catch that. The second time we both looked at each other like she knew.
They changed the focus of the camera from it being kind of on Jesse to Ellie, and you're seeing a reaction to the statement that you made because she, at this point, knows and understands, I think, what Joel did. Maybe he never told her, but she knows well enough that Joel killed the Fireflies or took her out of there and was lying about that situation. So she has this guilt that she could have been a cure. Yeah. She's living with that. I think that's a lot of the thing. She was ready to die in that moment, I believe. And that was kind of taken from her. And now she's seeing, she kind of has some of the guilt for a decision she didn't make that Joel made for her.
Guys, do you really think she thought she was going to die? I mean, Griff, do you think she really thought she was going to die?
I don't know. The question to me, because you got to imagine the kind of thought process that she would run through. Because it's like, why wouldn't Joel let me, let them run whatever they needed to run on me to make this happen? And I would think after a while she might start putting together the pieces of maybe he didn't like what that really meant for how I was going to turn up.
There's
my point.
If she didn't know when she was a kid, she understands now. She knows the moral ambiguity of the situation. That Joel saved her because they were going to do something that he didn't like about her. He's a protector. She knows that.
And what do we think about Eugene being the Firefly? Like, was that just kind of like a quick reminder of, her feelings about that situation with Joel, or is there a bigger importance to Eugene having been a Firefly?
I think it's just, it kind of gives you two sides of the coin, because Eugene quit the Fireflies because he was tired of killing. So we're seeing that, hey, maybe the Fireflies weren't always well and good. And we've seen them be bad at previous points in the series. But at the same time, it is that recall to she had the point of the Fireflies in a way became to find that cure. And that all ended with the decision that Joel made.
Yeah.
And again, I think the writers are trying to link that into Abby and her militia, that what they want to do. I mean, These writers are fantastic in how they just take one scene and pull it into another to, pull emotion out of you. So I think it was, here's more to come.
Yeah. Cutting forward then into Abby. Moving forward, I guess she's seeing some people on horseback and is tracking them. I think this is Joel and Dina that she's tracking at the time.
Yes.
I think it has to be just in terms of the proximity and how everything works out. So then she falls, slides into that infected pit. This is where that momentum, it's continuing along. And this is when it really takes off. She falls in. That tension of the scene, you start hearing some kind of slow creaking. You see that one walker begin moving. Infected. Start kind of sinking.
And you saw her just kind of, obviously she sees all of these infected, frozen, and it's, you're mostly just seeing arms and bodies, and next thing you know, you see one of these cauliflower heads, and I think that's where it's she gets even more uneasy, and then like you said, we start seeing it turning, and it's like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah, get the hell out of here.
Oh yeah,
and it's on. You see them start pouring out, and I just want to take a moment to we're going to reiterate this throughout this, but I think, this episode's going to go down in some kind of television history. I'm not saying it's going to be notated as one of the best episodes of television ever, but it'll surely go down as one of the best episodes of The Last of Us. I'll say that for certain. And I would say as a whole, there's different TV shows where you remember big sequences, big scenes, and things like that. This was a massive episode. And truly, it was a privilege to watch this episode. This was a very
come on, guys. They kicked ass. This set me off. I was on my couch relaxing, going, "Oh, this is a nice Sunday, evening. Oh yeah, Joel's saved, Dina's saved.
We're excited to watch the show.
And then all of a sudden, this breaks loose, and you see Abby just running down the hill. I even asked Austin. I said, "How many do you see?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Thousands." And I was like, "Oh shit, this is bad. This is gonna get ugly."
Oh, it starts popping real quick.
Does it ever?
Well, and I'll say this. I don't like, how at the end of the episode they do that kind of like, they do their own recap where they have the writers and the actors speak. I don't like watching that. I never have, because I thought I kind of like the mystery and the fantasy element. I think that breaks it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was so just like, it was such an intense episode that I kind of I definitely wanted to see the previews for the next coming episodes, at the end. So I stayed on for that, and I just kind of let the very beginning of that recap play. And the actor playing Tommy, they were interviewing him, and he said, "Hey, I got the script, and it looked like the scope of it was insane." I was like, "How are we ever going to do this? There's no way they're going to dial it back." Turns out it only got crazier. They didn't dial it back. They made it crazier. So what you're seeing is we never thought it was even possible.
I really like those things. I like to at least get their perspective. And I understand what you're saying, where you like to keep it a bit of a mystery, but I think it's still like regardless of what they did or were trying to do, I think there's still a lot of perspective that you can, you can make it what you want it to be in a lot of ways too. It's like, it is up for interpretation.
No, that's
it
fair.
was an incredible scene, guys. Yeah. Just incredible.
That chase sequence, where she gets up against the fence too, is just really, really well done. That's straight from the video game. And then you get into this is a very consequential scene as well. You get that reveal of the person who just saved your life. And I love what they did with the audio here, where you have the ringing of her ears and the gun. It's almost like the Polar Express scene when he's trying to hear the bell ring and then he finally hears it. It's like everything is muffled and you go into that headspace, and then she hears you hear Joel's voice, she doesn't, but she doesn't know in that moment. And I think that dynamic is just wholly fascinating in that scene. He just saved her life. Not knowing that she's going to, kill him yet,
Yeah. And she doesn't know that she's going to kill him either.
Right.
It's just like, it really is weird. It's like you said, it's like the meeting of these two, we'll call them enemies or whatever. And they don't realize they're enemies in that moment. And it's just crazy.
He saves her life, It's wholly different
than what would happen. The enemy of your enemy is your friend, right? And this was just off the charts in that, I guys, one thing, you all know I love pistols, and that was a .357 Magnum. That's why the ring would have been severe when Abby's like, "What is going on?" And then she hears Joel's voice.
Yeah.
In a very intense scene.
And then we see them kind of cut away to, where they've locked the door, and these infected are on you, man. It's a lot of intensity here. And we hear Dina calling out to Joel, and that's where Abby's eyes widen, and it's like, oh shit. And she begins to reach for her gun, but I guess she decides in that moment, maybe that's not the right time to do it. Obviously she wants a little more from that moment. So I don't know what her plan was, but one way or another, she decides to not take her chance at that point in time.
Well, you would think it had to have been some sort of moment of, hey, if I, maybe she wasn't thinking this far ahead, but if I kill him now, what are the odds I make it out of this?
Exactly. She needed him. She needed him in that moment. That's fair. And Dina here, I think this is another moment that is purposeful. We hear a little bit of her uneasiness and just kind of questioning. She's like, "Where did you come from?" Kind of thing. She's not trusting in this moment as much as, like, I guess kind of Joel runs along with it. Maybe Joel doesn't see her as a threat, but Dina is definitely questioning.
And I hate to say this too, but like, I wonder if actually Maria from the previous episode, remember you were once a refugee too, Joel. Like, I almost think that was kind of I almost think it was kind of this, like, it was almost a little bit indicative of maybe like a philosophical change that he was having. Or maybe it was just to show that, like, obviously he's not just some asshole who is, like, you know, trying to dictate who survives and who doesn't. But I think it was just a way of kind of, maybe presenting him in a different light from last episode.
Yeah. Yeah,
guys, he's softened up. I mean, you hear later on that he's in his 60s. He's softened up quite a bit. So I don't know if he's got that game that he had before where he had that killer instinct and, hey, what's really going on here? I don't think he picked up on that. And Austin, Dina said that even harsher than you did. I mean, it was, where in the fuck did you come from? I mean, it was boom. Yeah. Where did you come from? Where the fuck did you come from? Yeah. And then Abby pops off. I came from the lodge, the mountain lodge.
We got to go to the lodge. And I think there's the weather's a big part of this episode and the danger that it presents. You know, they literally can't go where they need to go because you can't survive the weather long enough. You know, you can't get somewhere. So they're going to the lodge. We cut back to the town. They haven't heard from Joel and Dina. Tommy's worried at this point, saying, hey, look for them or call out every 10 seconds. They're the only ones that haven't checked in. And then we hear this radio call with Ellie and Jesse that sets them into motion. They've been hanging out. Luckily, they didn't get high. Could you imagine have to handle that situation?
Well, hey, Austin, I think Ellie's in good hands, though. She said she grabbed a couple pounds. So
yeah, she's going to be fine for later.
Yeah, she's going to be good.
She's going to be writing some breakup poetry, her and Joel.
Hey, well, I kind of, oh, man. But I think, too, like, what I liked about that scene is, there's only a few words you're even making out. Joel and Dina, and I forget what the other word was, but you see Ellie just look at Jesse.
Snap her neck, yeah.
And she just moves it. She's gone. They don't say a damn word. It's just they know exactly what they're doing, what has to be done.
They went right into action, didn't they?
Yeah, they went right into it.
Yeah. Cut back to Jackson, fungus in the pipes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which alerts, I guess, a second horde. So at this moment, Dina, Abby, and Joel are being chased by the horde that Abby woke up. That fungus, I think, kind of wakes up another pocket of infected that are buried on the mountain somewhere. And we see this big chase scene, very large in scale, with the horseback riding Joel, Dina, Abby, and you see the two hordes connect and head towards Jackson. And you're like, oh God. And you see how many of them are.
Yeah, they were trying to flank him, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit, it's on. And the guy, their scout looking through the binoculars, that was, man, just the chilling nature of that scene was awesome. But it was, could you imagine though? You immediately felt like you were there in that kind of moment.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, could you imagine seeing that approaching, just the danger of it? Bell, hit the bell,
Well, and I'll give that dude credit because he was shell shocked. It really did not take him long. It didn't take him long to be like, Bell. He was on it. I thought the same thing, Us.
You saw him take off running too. He was moving.
So we see everyone get locked and loaded, and I thought this scene reminded me a lot of the Helm's Deep battle in Lord of the Rings, the second one. When you see all like they put the kids and the women back in the cave. You kind of had them stowed away, but everyone was getting ready for action. They were looking over the fence, guarding in, looking out. So a lot of parallels there. And another HBO series, Game of Thrones, Hard Home, with the White Walkers when they come to that Hard Home battle. So this is, like I'm saying, this is TV. This is high up on the scale in terms of just the magnitude of this episode and how it'll go down in history with this series specifically.
They were telling the team there, hey, get off the streets, go to the basements and the roofs. And, these guys, they wanted to get to the high ground. They wanted to be in that position. And again, we mentioned earlier that, hey, I think it was last week that we said, hey, it didn't seem like they were real prepared. Guys, I mean, at this point, I'm going, they're prepared.
We're reeling that take back.
Oh, man. Yeah. They were ready to go.
Yeah, they were definitely ready to go in that. When Tommy yells out Jackson Hole, that was pretty. That was kind of one of those chilling moments. It's like, oh my God, just the animal nature you would be in a situation like that, where you just be like exclaiming something, letting something out.
Something like the movie Braveheart, where Mel Gibson's character yells out, when Tommy yelled out Jackson Hole, and you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
this is going down.
There's some badasses for sure. I mean, they were on it. I mean,
guys, do you think Tommy's a badass now?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he did everything he could, that bloater's coming at his wife, he went right after him.
Oh, I thought Tommy was
Tommy kind of kicked ass, guys.
No pun intended, but I guess pun intended. I thought Tommy was cooked,
Oh, I thought he was.
Oh, yeah. No.
I mean, you all called that shot last week that you think Tommy or Dina's going to be biting it soon, and
both of them were near.
Don't get too attached.
I'll tell you what, I didn't think about it initially, but I did watching this time around. I thought, man, I'll tell you what, I was just thinking of Ellie's feelings and how Ellie was going to go for Abby. And I was like, oh shit, you already know that Tommy's going to be right in that mix, wanting to. That dude's not going down without a fight. Like, those fuckers, Abby and her crew, they just awakened a militia. I mean, that is not going to be
the cycle of vengeance, man. That's what it is. That's what it is. But we cut to seeing Joel, Abby, and Dina. They're just now arriving at the lodge, and they look back and see Jackson. So Joel wants to go back, right?
Oh,
obviously they can't. They won't make it. So there's that.
His literal face is half frozen, and he's saying, "We got to get there." I mean, I think the fighting spirit of Joel is just like, they're, as we've already understood forever, but it's still awesome to see that just the courage and that fight that guy has.
You know how much it's killing him, knowing that he really can't help. He can't get there. He can't do it. He couldn't
get there in time. Even if he left then,
he wants to so bad.
Right.
That's eating at him. But then it seems like everything's going well back at this battle. They're well prepared. They got the barrels out. They got things blowing up, blasting things on fire. Nothing, it seems like, hey, they're handling this pretty well. The plan is working. At some point in the sequence of them kicking ass, Tommy either hears, sees, that bloater, it shows up, and that changes the ball game. We know at this point in time, and Tommy knows, hey, they're getting through this fucking wall. They're going to breach, and it's going to get turned on. This is different.
Yeah.
And we see this kill lane kind of come into. He's running down the center hall or whatever, the center of town, which they said, hey, avoid earlier. Because if you don't want to be there, if they get through the wall, shit's going to go down.
Trust me, yeah.
Yeah. So once that starts happening and they kind of break through and you start seeing them going into the buildings and coming out on the roofs, I was thinking maybe they'd have some kind of safety there. But when that's happening, at some point you're like, this isn't going well. I don't know how many people are surviving this. This is going.
I thought it was pretty kind of indicative of that as well when Tommy's there with the flamethrower, and everyone's lined up, and then 2 of the 4 just book it, and it's like, oh my god, but it really, I will say though, it did make you think. At least it made me think. It made me question how I would be responding in that moment, because you're like, man, would I be holding my ground watching that whole just horde come for me? It's pretty heavy.
I would like to think in that moment I've already surrendered. Like I don't know, man. Like if it's that bad, like you're not running away, dude. You might as well just die.
You might as well use that what you got, man.
You might as well
burn them up, baby.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I've been waiting for this scene. I was so.
That's why you start making animal noises, because you're like, I'm fucking dying. This is it. Let's go.
This is that time that you reach down and you find out if you have them or not.
Oh,
and
my God.
Tommy, I think we all know Tommy has them because he held his ground. Again, as I pointed out earlier, is when you saw that this bloater is looking up at his wife, he locks eye, or hell, I don't know what that cauliflower head. I mean, I kept calling him Coral Reef. It's what I kept calling him. But he locks eyes with Maria, and he starts going that direction. And Tommy's like, "Oh no, we're not having that." And he pulls out, that 9mm and starts just shooting away. And he gets his attention. He starts coming at Tommy, and Tommy just does everything he can to light this bloater up. So
yeah, he turns into a hero.
He does. Yeah. He's definitely a hero.
But then we get that amazing sequence of Tommy and the bloater backing him into that dead end. Tommy probably should have known better where he was going. He knows that town pretty well. He backed himself in, and I thought it was it. I thought he was done. He starts spraying it with the flamethrower. You knew he had a fighting shot, with it. Yeah. You thought it might. But when that thing starts going to zero, it's like, this thing's still putting up a pretty good fight and moving well. Is he going to do it?
Yeah.
And
guys, this is what we talked about last week. We said Tommy's going to bite it. Although I really like Tommy, I kept going, okay, I'm going to lose Tommy in this episode. I can take this. And then Tommy makes it. And I'm like, just in the back of my mind, I went, uh-oh, this is not good. Something bad is going to happen. I got a sick feeling in my stomach. And, then at that point, I think Maria does something that Austin saw in my eyes when it happened the second time we watched it. Maria releases the hounds.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was the last ditch effort. That was the ace up the sleeve. That was it. That was the last card.
It was funny because it was such a callback to at the beginning of the episode when they're all talking about, man, they got the power lines. Well, actually, they got all of they got this military training, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Hey, they also have dogs.
I think
just so you know,
that's really good.
That's a good point, Griff.
Yeah. That's really good because it was the last thing. It's like, and they got these.
In my head, I was like, dogs. That's like I haven't even seen that. And then it's like, oh, there we go.
go. So here we go. We get back. And this is the dreaded scene, or I guess the big one. Once that happens, we get cut back to the lodge. They're trying to, initially they start helping Joel and Dina, right? They get in and like, hey, maybe Abby has some kind of, newfound, like maybe Joel isn't such a bad guy. That was absolutely just hopeful thinking.
He did just save her life.
He saves her life, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know what she was.
She does say. What was her one guy's name? Yeah,
Owen.
She says to Owen, help them too. Help them too.
Yeah. So like, you're thinking maybe, but at some point or another, and in this sequence too, you also are seeing Dina kind of pick up clues. She's looking around. She's disoriented, and she's just kind of out of it because she's hypothermic. Right? Yeah. She's having frostbite. So you see her look at the WLF or whatever is the backpack and the wolf patch. She's gathering clues in this moment because she's been, like I said, she's questioning of this. Who are these people that are just up in the lodge? And I think Joel is so caught up in the moment.
He's zeroed in on Jackson Hole.
Exactly.
Well, what was so amazing, I thought, was you literally see them half frozen, and they get into this refuge. They're literally undergoing, hey, I need to tend to you right now or you're going to lose skin on your hand. That one girl Mel says to Dina. And meanwhile, Joel goes, 3 minutes, we're getting out of here and going. 3 minutes. That guy, again, I think that was just another like, wow. Like he was fired up. He was not going out without a fight, man.
Yeah. And then, this hopeful thinking doesn't last too long. She starts introducing her group.
Gears.
She says, this is Manny, Nora, Mel, and Owen. I'm Abby. Guys, this is Dina, whatever. She introduces them and then says, and this is, and he is Joel. And Manny, who, like I said, they're purposely showing the way these people in Abby's group are reacting to the things she does, the decisions she makes. Manny's a follower. Like, he is on board. He's the first one in the sequence to grab Dina, put a gun to her head.
Yeah. He jumps right into action.
He jumps right into action. He's about it. And
Abby asks Joel, what do we look like?
Yeah.
That's when I went, oh.
Well, that's after Joel says, hey, take whatever you want.
Yeah.
Do we want to rob us? Take whatever you want. If you want to rob us,
take whatever you want, because we've got to get back to Jackson Hole and take care of business. And she says, what do we look like? And Joel responds that you guys look like military.
Do we look like Raiders? Is I think what she says.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes, to go no, and
He's just
but
military.
I know what you mean.
Fireflies, ? So that's when Joel's getting an idea. He's like, oh, well, this is what this is. He's coming to on what this situation is, who he's being faced with and met with, and he knows why too. And
he figures out when she says, well, there aren't any fireflies now, are there? We're just all saying the same thing, but yeah.
So Abby gets in this situation where they're going to put Dina asleep, for this, I guess just to leave her out of it. And Abby asks Joel, basically, I'll give you one chance, or says to him, I'll give you one chance to set this straight. Like, where's the last place you saw the fireflies? If you tell us the truth,
Dina lives.
Dina lives. If you don't, we'll know anyways. Like, and in this moment, I thought this is huge. Do you think this is Joel's redemption here? This is the thing that he hasn't admitted to Ellie or this therapist. I don't know who he said it to. Has he said it to anyone aside from maybe Tommy? Tommy probably knows why they were there, but does really anyone else know that? But in this moment, Joel does confess. He says, Salt Lake City, and they know the rest of the story at this point in time. And in this moment of admitting to and saying out loud the thing he's been suppressing, he saves the life of Dina here. Yeah. And that's kind of like his last act.
I think you're exactly right. And I think it was just that moment of wiping his slate clean. Yeah. And saying he's going out riding high. He's going out the man that we all know him to be, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. With some, I guess, some honor there is the way we would put it. But then,
Well, and Dad, you have something to say.
I'm sitting about ready to jump through this mic. At that point, let's face it, the three of us really like Joel. And you go, again, they point out that he's 60 years old. She's already said, hey, you're pretty handsome. And you kind of look at him, you go, yeah, the guy is pretty darn handsome. He looked good in that scene. And I think Austin nailed it. It's a redemption. It's, hey, I know this is the end for me. And there's no way I'm going to let Dina go out if they hold true to what Abby just said. I'm going to take one, because I know once she tells me that, hey, my father was the doctor, he knows what he would do, and he knows this is the end.
Yeah. And when it really gets grisly, Joel says something along the lines of like, I saved your life, or something, maybe pleading his case one last time. And she says, what life? And she shotguns him in the shin. And then,
and I think, like, I don't even know. I think it was him in a sense, like you said, kind of pleading his case, but I also think it was just him. I thought it was a pretty nice moment of him just kind of just hitting her in the head and kind of being like, I don't even know if it was like, oh, I saved your life. It was more of like I saved your life, Yeah. Like, I think it was just him kind of getting her back and kind of,
tagging her with
maybe he was just tagging her with it a little bit, like, hey, just so you know, you're not all that you think you are either. You know, you're pretty fucked up too. I think it was just that little moment of him kind of getting one on her.
Well, the other thing, I think she got herself in that she talks about code, and she talks about that the code was don't kill someone without a weapon. And then Abby turns around and has this look like there is no code here for guys like you.
Well, you
agree?
Yes, and I think this is that whole sequence in her dialogue there is really good because it's saying there is a code, and there's a code that I follow, I guess mostly, that tells me I shouldn't kill you, but there's also the code to just life. And there's some things that are just fucking wrong. And you killed 19 people. You're getting the vengeance. You know, you killed my dad. And she reveals it in that moment. You know, you killed my dad, the doctor, the armless.
And I was 19 years old at the time.
Yep. And I was 19.
It was her just, you know, let's say this. It was her kind of basking in the moment. Yeah. She was eating it up. She was loving it. She was getting off on the fact that it was finally there. And that's why Joel says, just fucking do it already.
Well, that's the thing. I think up until that point, Joel was listening. He was hearing it and coming to the terms, because at the end of that statement where she says things are just fucking wrong, Joel, you know, reluctantly, but does in this moment nod. You know, he nods forward and is saying like, you know what? I probably do deserve to die for this. I think he's accepting that.
I caught that too.
Yeah. He knows he's dying here. And that's when she gets up and walks away and keeps going on with it. He's like, oh, just shut the fuck up already. You know, it's like, okay, you've had your speech. You've told me what's going on here. I get it. And then this is where
after
kill me and get it over with.
Right after he about got his leg blown off.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I think it was just like, again, and she even said it after it happened. She said, you're tough, you know, and I think it was just this big example of him still having that dignity. And again, showing that fight. He's not backing down. It doesn't matter. You know, he's going out a badass no matter.
Well, it's
what.
like
he's going out with his boots on, guys, and they keep showing. One, she says, "Hey, you're a good looking fella," and then the next thing you just see him. She shoots him, and she's like, "Good Lord, you're tough."
Yeah, look,
we all wanted that. I mean, this is our guy. We want to see. We want him to be tough and go out with his boots on, as I keep saying.
Yeah.
Oh man, this was a tough one, Austin. This was a tough one. It's been a tough. It's been a brutal week not talking to you guys. I've done everything I could do. I wanted to talk to you, even just talking to Griffin throughout the week. I wanted to bring some of this up.
But, you've been thinking about it?
Oh, it's been eating me alive. It really.
Yeah. The thing with Abby here, and I was searching for it. I lost it for a second. I think in that moment, Joel is recognizing that she's setting something straight. He's got the upper hand on her right now. You know, he's the one that has killed someone of hers, or you know, she has something to get back at him. I think once he knows that he's going to kill her. And then she keeps going on, and then she starts torturing him. She's not setting it even. She's going beyond. You know, this is for her pleasure at this point. She's taking more from the situation. So she is compromising her morality in this situation too, and you see it around her. A lot of the friends were on board, or their kind of group were on board. We'll go kill the guy. But throughout the sequence, you're saying, just get it fucking over with. Mel is shying away and crying.
She was basically out of her body at that point. She's just
beating on him.
She wouldn't stop punching him, and just it was a very brutal. As I said, you know, I've seen flogging scenes where I'm like, okay, my God, in his face, it looked like she had hit him with that golf club in the face. He was so scarred up. Then those were deep indentions in his face.
She's going to be hurting after punching him that many times. She's going to be in pain.
Well, and kind of like you said, Austin, it really did kind of set things uneven excuse me, because as she said, you killed a doctor. You didn't so much as look at the guy before you put a bullet in his head.
Defensive.
And
Defenseless.
it's like, yeah, but it's like, hey man, he didn't fuck around either. He blew the guy's head off and it was done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's dragging it out slowly.
Yeah.
She really meant it, didn't she?
Oh, she meant it. I didn't doubt her. But then Ellie does ultimately find the lodge, comes up, and you're still thinking in this moment, oh my God, maybe
there's a chance.
Maybe there's a chance. And you almost expected that, right?
Yeah,
it's like, I was like, Ellie's going to get in here
here's the hero.
Somehow stop it. And you hear the thudding through the floor. I think that's pretty good as Ellie arrives and is walking through. But Ellie, kind of fucks it, doesn't even get one. Doesn't even tag.
No, shoots straight up into the ceiling.
She immediately gets shot before Ellie? She gets seen before she shoots. There could have been.
She gets a slice on old Manny though.
She does slice Manny, and
good.
And then Manny, as you see, starts really. Manny was going to kill Ellie. He was going to.
Oh yeah.
He was going to kick her straight in the face.
He was going to take a gun. Owen literally went up and grabbed it from his hand, and Owen. So I think we're going to see some turmoil and some rifts, some mutiny in that group throughout this.
Absolutely.
Because some people aren't on board. I think Mel and Owen for sure. Manny and Abby for sure. They're on teams. And I think Nora's kind of a little ambiguous. I think she's leaning the good side, but I think she could turn and say,
she's going to be bad, Austin. I mean, you could see the way she was holding Ellie down. She's bad.
Yeah, she could be.
And it depends on, again,
she seemed a little teary-eyed throughout some things too, though. So I think there's a possibility, but I think that's an interesting dynamic that we're going to get to follow going forward here. Really powerful stuff when Ellie is on the ground saying, Joel, get up, and neither one of them have the ability to do anything. Like Joel is so beaten that I think he tries to lift himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't really pick up on that last Sunday because I just kept looking away. It was just sickening to me. But he did raise his head up, and it was that, I love you, kid. I wish I could do it, but I physically can't.
Yeah.
And Ellie just has this emotional outburst. She's yelling, get up, Joel, get up, Joel. And believe me, he wants to.
It's her Superman. This guy can't be touched.
She can't believe it.
This guy can't die, and he gets, he can't move a muscle, really, and ultimately he gets stabbed in the neck. And like I said, I almost didn't believe it at first. It was like, oh my God. And Dana's sitting over with me, who's not even watching the show really, but hanging out. She's just around. And I'm like, Joel just died.
Austin, I walked around my house.
And she's not even paying attention.
I kept walking around the house going, this is the second episode, and our dude just gets killed.
He's gone.
Guys, I said it earlier. I couldn't believe it. I was literally just thinking, how are they going to bring him back? How does he survive this? There's going to be some crazy way he survives. And then again, you see the body bag. And as I'm watching the previews for the next couple episodes, it shows the gravestone, and I'm like, God, he's dead. The dude, it sounds silly, but I could not fathom it. It just did not make sense.
Oh, you wanted to see that body bag move. You were thinking, we've said it, Superman. This dude, you're going to see an arm raise. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where we find out, the mission going forward. Ellie on the ground. I'm going to kill you.
Oh, no
Here
doubt.
we go. This is setting that cycle in motion, the cycle of revenge. Ellie's, this is where we're going. This is going to be
Great point.
It's going to be a hunt for them.
The look Ellie gives Abby is, bitch, you're going to get yours. And I really feel like that's going to be that is going to be one hell of a scene, the battle between those two.
And I don't know if we get it this season, apparently. Just from rumblings.
Don't tell me that.
I'll say this. I'll say, just kind of jumping ahead, but any major predictions, because in my head, I'll tell you my thoughts. I'm saying, okay, so we see that scene of I'm going to kill you. what did Abby say 5 years prior? I'm going to kill Joel.
Yeah.
And, in my head, I'm going, man, I think any good story would have to put some sort of spin on it. So, like, do you think we get a moment? Do you think we get that moment of, Ellie standing over Abby and deciding, you know what? I'm not going to kill you. Like, do we get that moment or what happens? That's kind of what I'm questioning. It's like, is it really that much of a catharsis to see her kill Abby knowing the theme that's being established?
Yeah. You think they just, the cycle gets broken?
I don't know, man.
Guys, I'm going to call the shot. There's absolutely there's no way that was her guy, her dad. That was her protector.
She's cleaning house.
Abby's done. Abby's going to bite it. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to say this because Manny needs to bite it too. I can't, I for some reason, I have a rough time when he goes, you fucking pendejo, to Joel. And I don't know, something about that just really just pissed me off. And because in some ways you could say Joel was a ruthless killer, but in some ways he was a really good man, because in these times where it's kill or be killed, hey, Joel was doing what he could to survive. And for him to say that just was insulting beyond.
Well, it's that moral ambiguity, and it's the perspective and the context. Like we say, it's like, when Manny's saying that stuff, he's not thinking of the 20 plus years Joel's been in this fight. He's not thinking of Joel getting his daughter taken away from him 20 plus years ago right away. It's just, it makes it even more heartbreaking us having the context.
Yeah. And something we haven't talked about, and also I don't know how we're doing on time, but I did want to bring up about the doctor. The doctor knew he wasn't innocent either, guys. He knew that there's a chance this may not even work, but we're going to kill Abby. Abby's going to get killed during the surgery. I said Abby. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Ellie. He knew that. So he's not innocent either. So in some ways, we're trying to make him, like he was a martyr. No, he wasn't. He wasn't as clean as you would think he would be. And I don't think if Abby's not putting 2 and 2 together that, hey, Dad wasn't as innocent as I think he was.
I've seen some things where like maybe Abby's group aren't as aware of Ellie as you would think they would be. Like I don't know if they fully know that Ellie was there and that's why Joel did it, because they said that was a myth in the beginning, that there was some girl that was cured. So wow. I think it's not clearly illustrated enough, I think, if that's a point they're trying to make, but I don't know how much about Ellie they're aware of and like what she was there for. I think they might have thought Joel just came in and killed him ruthlessly with, I guess, not really intention or like a reason. I don't know how much of that like I really subscribe to myself. I feel like they should have known that Ellie was there, but I think that's something that is a possibility.
They're probably going to start putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
Ellie busting through that door.
Yeah. So
I bet they start putting it together.
Yeah. So we then see the outro. Through the Valley of the Shadow of Death begins playing. Jesse arrives, Dina and them all kind of ride back, and they're, with Joel dragging along there. They don't even know what they're returning to yet. So that's going to be something for them to see too. And obviously they know something's gone down. I guess they're just hoping that they won, maybe because there's no way they really, I guess maybe someone radioed out, maybe overthinking it here, but they don't know what they're going back to fully, I don't think. We see that bit soldier hand his pistol over to, another guy, and he just
and showing his bite on his hand.
Yep. And takes him out. Yep. So that's just some strong stuff showing that, back at Jackson, they're hurting, and this is going to take some recovering from. And there's a lot of things they don't know about yet either. So one hell of an episode. Like I said, I think this one was, This is one of the better ones you're going to get. If you don't like this one, you don't like the series. Really, this was
stop watching if you don't like that.
Yeah, stop watching. So, like I said, I don't know.
We also see the embrace of Tommy and Maria.
Yeah,
and maybe that's a little bit of that's a little bit of something that we're getting. It's not all horrible and just heartbreaking. There is a little bit of some positivity is still around.
Well, there's a reason why you fight. You got something worth fighting for. So that's a lot of this world. It's a rough one, and these things are going to happen. It's just that kind of series. People die in this world. It's a dangerous one, and there's not a lot of law in this world either. So it's a tricky one. But I think going back to the first episode where, this was not on the radar for me. Obviously, you knew something was going to happen, but the scale and the magnitude of, everything that just happened in this episode, everything just got shook on its face. I thought we were going to see a community type season where they're, protecting the home, but it's more or less a lot of like politicking and things along those lines. And I wasn't sure how much of that I was up for, but this completely changed the narrative. And I'm really, really excited to see where this one goes. So great episode for me. I don't know if we may not even reach this peak again this season. Like, this one was real good. A lot of infected, more than we've seen in a lot of the series too. I think a lot of people were critical of that in the first season, that there wasn't a lot of infected scenes and things of this nature. There was a couple where they had that one bloater scene last season. That was a great episode itself with Sam, and can't remember what the other brother's name was. Anyway,
well, I do think you're right about that, and that it was kind of eye-opening, just the magnitude, because in that first episode of this new season, we're seeing them kind of picking off some of the infected, and it kind of seems like everything's pretty under control.
Yeah, life's all right.
Life's all right. Of course, we get that glimpse of, hey, this was like the smartest infected I've come across. It was strategizing and all of that, and that's introducing us to what's to come. But when you're seeing, like we said, those thousands of infected just racing down that hill, that's when you're like, oh wow, this is deeper than we thought.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fight left here.
All right, so let's get into our categories here, starting with the IMDb score of this one. We're at 1 hour and 12 minutes, so I think we've recapped a lot, but we will be able to pick our scenes. We just don't need to dive all the way too far into them again, but we'll have our reasons. We know how it goes. But anyways, the first episode of the season, Future Days, is sitting at a 7.5 on IMDb. We had it in that.
Whoa! They brought it up.
Yeah, we had it.
Wasn't it 6.8 last week?
No, that was our what we came up with. Rating. We said 6.8 to 7.2, somewhere in that range. This one today, well, let's give our ratings.
Yeah, let's give ours.
Yeah. Also, I think this was the episode 3 of season 1 where, Frank and Bill were together. That was my favorite of season 1. This is, I don't know how you're going to top this. This was incredible. Yep. This is in the 8.8.
Oh, wow. I was going to go higher.
I think it might even be higher. This may be a 9 plus. This was incredible. It was so emotional. You all talked about it. Guys, I couldn't sleep after it. I was so pumped up. And again, I was walking around like a little kid around the house, like I'd lost my puppy, saying, hey, I can't believe they killed off Joel in this episode. It just blew me away. So fantastic job. Again, 8.8 to 9.
Wow. Yeah, no, and it's funny, Dad, because I actually was thinking at 8.8 myself, and I kept thinking about it, and I was like, let's say 8.8 to a 9.1, because I think my opinion is a little bit affected by the fact that I was so heartbroken.
No pun intended with infected, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty much exactly what it was. It's like, you're so upset with how it ended that it kind of affects the way that you can judge it. But at the same time, like you said, Dad, I mean, you're walking around the house just distraught. And when any sort of media has that ability to affect that big of an emotion in you, it's doing something right. That's a pretty impressive thing to experience. So that'd be my judge in Austin. 8.8 to a 9.1.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say that seems light to me. That is
okay.
When it's something like this that, I think myself, I try to be very critical. So sometimes I can back myself into a corner where like I'm unwilling to go incredibly high on the scale. But man, like what else am I looking for from the series here? This one, watching it back now, technically, I guess the third time for myself, this whole episode, this episode is a movie itself. There is so much that occurs and so much that happens. And obviously you need the context and the buildup of it, but you could extend this thing and this could have been a movie in itself easily. I would give this one a 9.5. It's like I don't know how much further you go up. And it's like, am I going to say everything's an 8.8 or a 9.1? It's like, no, this isn't every other episode that's good. This was a great episode.
How do you top this?
And I'm not going to, maybe I'm going to say I've been impacted by the IMDb score, but 9.5 felt like, what else? That's as good as it can get, man. It was an A+ episode, is what I'm saying there. IMDb is sitting at a 9.4.
Wow.
Yeah,
9.4,
and that is also considering that IMDb has a tendency to be review bombed as well. So that whatever way you want to take it, shows just how well this episode holds up. Because even if people are in there review bombing it for whatever reasons they may have,
it's still a home run.
It's a home run. It's sitting at 9.
No doubt.
Well, and it is pretty sweet for the show, because I do believe there was a slight touch in our analysis last week's episode of like, man, not a whole lot happened. We love this show, but we really hope it picks up. Like, I don't know if we were super impressed with last week's episode, and I think this kind of hit us in our teeth a little bit and said, hey, we still got some stuff here.
We were
hang on.
Yeah, we had our toes in, right? We had our toes in. We just took a dive,
Yeah, we took a dive.
Yeah, we're in this now, and really looking forward to where this takes us. So let's get into our categories here. We're not going to start with me this time. I'm going to let you guys go first in terms of the scenes, so you can get first picks. For favorite scenes, I think I'm also still, it's like I'm at a restaurant and I'm still trying to get my order right. I don't know yet. There were so many heavy hitters this episode. So scenes, I'm going to defer to you, Griffin. You take the first one here.
Yeah, and the truth is, I think that the emotional weight of the, I guess it feels weird to say it, but the torture scene.
Yeah, the back of the lodge.
Joel.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just absolutely devastating. It was horrifying, and for that reason, even though it had such emotional weight and it was masterfully done, I can't say that was my favorite scene just because it was so upsetting on a really visceral level. For me, my favorite scene is actually watching Jackson Hole band together, start dropping those barrels out.
Yep.
They're firing away. They are on one. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
And those people are ready to go. They're boarding up the elderly people, the women, the children. They know exactly what they're doing, and they are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for each other. That was my favorite scene.
Real good. You go ahead, Mikey.
All right, guys. I've already kind of talked about it, but I really like the scene where Abby slides down the mountain.
Yeah.
And you see the hand sticking up. And Griffin mentioned the cauliflower head, and you go, oh, this is not good. And then you see the ground moving. I really like that scene, and I thought that was the start of, oh, this is going to be different.
Oh, that tempo. Yeah, that's when it really kicks into gear.
It's like watching a basketball game and you see that full court press. Oh, it's on now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really like that. And Griffin nailed it. The scene, guys, was when Joel goes out and you just see this tough man that just hangs in there basically tells her, hey, just go ahead and friggin' do it if you're going to do it. But I did, my favorite scene, I have to say, was when Maria released the dogs.
Yeah.
That to me, I jumped off the couch and was like, oh, hell yeah, here we go. Because they were losing at that point.
Yeah.
I think they were losing, and it looked like something out of one of the vampire movies where the werewolves just start taking over. And those dogs were ferocious. And I'm going to call this shot, guys. I think Ellie's going to become friends with these dogs, and you're going to see these dogs take care of some business down the road.
Oh, some more dog appearances. All right.
Because they were impressive.
All right.
Hey, Dad, is this Kreskin moment number 1
this
on the
is
podcast?
Kreskin moment number 1 because those dogs, I don't know about you all, but I jumped up off the couch and was like, oh, here we go. And they were taking care of business. They really did. So here it is. That's my Kreskin moment.
All right. Very good.
You're up, Oz.
Brought to you by Mike. All right. I won't go with the main scene either. You know, the big one that everyone would expect us to take. It was a brilliant scene, obviously. And I think just all the dialogue between Ellie and Joel is very good. Just the weight of that situation and all that's gone into making it happen. I don't think we get to fully appreciate that even because we haven't seen so much of Abby's journey to get there. You know, I think that's something that was maybe not undercooked, and maybe we'll see more of it through flashbacks, but I think that's something we need to consider and think about going into that. Like, this has been a lot of build up for Abby and co, and Joel's right at their feet, falls into their lap, really, literally. But I think my favorite scene is actually the whole sequence with Jesse and Ellie in the morning, and just how much when you go back and watch the episode a second time, knowing what ends up happening, just so much of that scene it just hits those triggers. So I like how it starts off with kind of the jokes. Jesse seeing some more of his character, like in that frozen corpses, 1,000 of them, get the fuck out of here is what Ellie says. Patrol with Joel. He already went out with Dina and Joel. Another thing that kind of impacts what is to come. Tommy in town talking about what happens when they go on alert, if they ring the bell, all that. So you feel that building up. And then finally, as they go out the gate, you see that storm up in the hills. So there's a lot of setting that occurs within this scene, and going back and watching it again, you're like, oh, yep, here it comes. Oh, yep, that's right. That's going to happen. And I think overall it's just a pretty good scene where maybe not a lot of action happens, but a lot of character building and just, I guess when looking back on everything that had to happen to make what happened occur, it's, really interesting, like the butterfly effect, it's that scene.
And,
is really
Austin,
cool.
Ellie even says at one point, we all know, Jesse, you're going to be the leader here. We all know you will be. But you're not there now, so kind of don't tell me what to do.
That's when they're in Eugene's shop, but that's all right.
No, that was in the very beginning. She says, "Hey, you know you're going to be the leader." I thought that's when it was.
It was when they were in that shop.
Oh, was it? Okay,
and everything.
Yeah. Okay, I stand corrected.
I'll say this: that's definitely a dark horse scene. You're mentioning, Austin, and I think it's a really great one. I'm right on the page with you, but I hadn't even thought of that, so you're right on the money there.
Yep. Yes, sir. Moving on to our next category. We'll let Mike go first on this one. Our favorite characters of this episode.
Man, oh man. I'll tell you what, guys, and you kind of put me on the spot here, but I think Tommy kind of shines in this.
I agree.
In this episode. Tommy, he takes on more of a leadership role, and we see him being the big speaker, standing on the chair. I thought was kind of dramatic in that. Maria even says to the son, "Hey,
that part.
Go give your dad a hug and tell him what a great job he did."
Because he did. I thought that was really good. That was well written.
That was well done.
It's a good thing just to kind of include.
Guys, there was something funny about that we really didn't hit. I know we can't talk about every scene, but he's talks about, when you go up on the roofs and you get the high ground, bring all the guns you can. And then what's he say? Make sure they're on safety.
Yeah.
He said, kind of don't be Earl and shoot yourself. I thought that was kind of a lighter moment in the story. But again, Tommy's going to be mine, Austin.
Well, Tommy too in the episodes to come is going to take on a more prominent role in the series. Having Joel's the front man. The front man's gone. We're going to see more of Tommy. Tommy's been a bit of a side character for most of the series that we've seen him in so far. A prominent one that matters and is important. But I think we're going to get to learn a lot more about him as like a main character, I think.
Well, and you're exactly right. And I think everything that we just witnessed was just reason. I think them kind of displaying why you can invest in Tommy. You can trust Tommy too. This guy, he's no pushover. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he's got some grit. And after all, he is Joel's brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a great pick.
Very good. All right, Griff, your character.
Okay. And I apologize. I'm going to take the gusto here, Ost. I'm going to pick Joel myself, because I think this episode really, it showed you everything about Joel that you love. It made you remember what the guys got and why we're even here now. Yep. Because he's the guy who made, he's the reason, I think, in a large sense, why we're still watching this and why we're so drawn in by it. Because, some of the stuff that happened in that first season, some of the moments he got everyone out of, and just the way that he led and the way that he did the things he did, it really just fired you up and made you love the series.
Yep.
It made you love him, and I think he gave you a couple reminders what makes him such an amazing character.
Yeah,
and someone you can really believe in. So, we've kind of talked about how he handled being faced with his own death, being faced with this horrific circumstance, knowing this girl was coming for him in the worst way she could think of.
Yeah.
And he stood there the whole time, and like you said, like both of you guys said, in that moment when Ellie's calling out to him saying, "Get up, Joel," he was doing every damn thing he could. It's just, there's literally, at a certain point, the human body stops you. But it wasn't it wasn't the spirit. The spirit was there. The spirit was there till the very, very end.
Unbridled.
So that's got to be my pick.
What made it so crushing for me was just the love he had for for Ellie, and to see that in his eyes that, hey, there's nothing I can physically do to get up. That was just a gut wrencher for me.
It was, but how does Joel go out? I would say he goes out a hero. He goes out the man you always believed him to be, that you knew he was. And like you said, Austin, if he was in need of any redemption, he sure as hell got it.
Yeah.
In that moment when he said, "Hey, Salt Lake."
There is an interesting part when you think about the song and you read the lyrics, and it talks about your soul going to hell. I think it says something along those lines, and
is that in the Valley of Death?
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like, well, there's a possibility with Joel. If I don't know what your beliefs are, but
that uncertainty, man.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah, who knows? My favorite character, I'm going to go with. I'll take one that is unique from your picks. I'm going to take Jesse here. I like what we're getting from Jesse. I think we began to like him in the first episode. I think he's continued to solidify himself through this one. I think he's going to be a strong guy and a guy you root for. And I think, he's going to make some moves throughout this tale that we're gonna be fans of. And I'm excited to see what he becomes as well. Speaking on the same kind of thought of Tommy becoming more prominent, Jesse's going to have to take up, that role there's some shoes to fill in the community with what's left with Jackson today.
And we can call back to what my dad was starting up.
Yeah, sure.
I think that was very intentional, Dad, when Ellie says, "Hey, we know that you're going to be leading this one day." Right. I think that was just set up, and I didn't even think about it until this exact moment. I think that was set up, and he's going to have to fill those shoes a lot quicker than any of us might have expected.
Yep, I agree. So let's push on now. Themes and things. I don't know how. I guess I'll start with this one. I'm going to go with the real prominent one, just the cycle of revenge, what we're seeing, the consequences of actions, and all the things that you set in motion with every little decision you make. And we see that kind of butterfly effect and it's kind of other ways as well, just the way decisions that we make either consciously or unconsciously and how they come back to, how you're met with them in the future, whether that be positively or negatively. Griffin?
Is it me? Yeah, I mean, I think that was the big kicker, Ross.
Yep.
I do. For me, just very simply, I think the theme of family, community, and love for those people that you're in it with. We see that at the very beginning when Ellie's getting defensive about Jesse questioning her about her relationship with Joel. Obviously, we see that in those final moments where she's fighting to try and keep him alive, and he's fighting to get up. I mean, it's heartbreaking, like you said, and just setting up, playing right into that theme of vengeance as well, and that cycle of violence plays right into that. But there's also the other side of the coin, and that's the love that those two share. Mm-hmm. You see that love between Maria and Tommy, and I think that that can be extended to the way that community responds. It is a group effort, and those people are all in it together. Without everyone involved, you don't have really anything. So that would be my pick.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a real good point, Griffin. I go back to the scene where you see the town and you just see that it's just been a massacre there.
Yep.
And you see the man put his hand up where he's got a bite on his hand. And he knew, again, that goes back to your love and the family and we're all in this together, the teamwork. And he looks at his friend and says, I'm done.
Yep.
Finish me off.
Yep.
But guys, I think revenge is what I got out of this. And although I hated how this went down, you have to, it's tough, but you have to understand where Abby's head was. If somebody if someone killed your father and you don't know about Ellie and you don't know what the stakes were there, you would want revenge as well.
Yeah, and even if you do know,
even if you do know, I mean, that's your dad. Man, I again, this was I've said it a million times in this episode. It's going to be boring to hear, but I keep saying that this was my favorite by far of the 2 seasons because it was just so intense. When you can't sleep after it, you've done a good job of pulling your audience in, and they definitely got me. I can't wait. I'll be up tonight. I'll be tired as can be, but I'll be up tonight. So looking forward to it.
Episode 3,
guys.
Yeah, that's what next.
Incredible job by the writers. Hats off.
Yep. Well done. Well, I think that's about it, fellas. We did a long one, but I think it was necessary in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. This was a very important and game-changing episode. We talked for an hour and 34 minutes. So it's going to be a fun one to listen back to, fellas. I guess I'll let you guys say your goodbyes. Griff?
Yeah, anybody who's hung around and listened, we appreciate you. And Yeah, this is just a great way for all of us to, like you said, really appreciate that it's something that I think is bringing a lot of people together too. You know, these shows, I think they introduce you to a lot of ideas and things that really make you consider your own life in a unique way. So that's what I appreciate, and I appreciate you inviting me on, Austin, and it's nice to speak with you guys. So, yeah, looking forward to next week.
Yes, sir. Mikey.
Austin, just again, I hope I get to come for episode 3. I try to be on my best behavior. Guys, know for me, again, this is just, we talk about family and hey, I get to hang out with my nephew and my son for a few hours watching this and then talking about it. Hey, how much better of a day could a man have? So I really appreciate it again from both of you. And looking forward to more to come.
Well, sounds good. We're looking forward to it. We got episode 3 tonight, ready to see how the town of Jackson picks up the pieces. I don't know where it goes. I don't know what we see, but one way or another, I know we're all looking forward to it. So that's it, guys. We'll be back next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.